head went up in flames, burning only dark remains. I cover up every part of my skin, oh, 'cause I don't like the person within, oh. I know I'm the one to blame. All I can do is take the shame, oh. Do we say goodbye? Refuse to question why. I'm too sad to say I'm sorry, so lie and pretend that you're okay. Swear that you will stay. Keep trying for one day. Whoa, I'm sick of all these lies. Don't care if I capsize. There's nothing left for me to hide. Don't wanna live a lie. Too many lows, too many highs, too many things to criticize. So I leave it all behind. Don't wanna live a lie.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. You know, as you can see the house in the backdrop, this is a crime scene. This is going to show you where this crime took place 14 years later as I walk through the crime scene and I give you a play-by-play of how this crime went down. Some of the factual information may not be a little on point, but I tried my best to remember it by memory. So let's go ahead and pull this up. And I hope you enjoyed this because I enjoyed doing it for you. And then after we finish this, I'll play a little bit of the factual stuff, and then you can get a real understanding because this technically is still a cold case. And here we go. Hi, my name's 12 Gauge, and I'm live here in Colorado City reporting to you on the case of HAILEY Dunn, a 13-year-old cheerleader who went missing December 27, 2010. This is her residence location that has since been torn down. As you can see, there's not much left to it, but at one time, this was a 3-bedroom home that was cohabitated with her mother, Sean Atkins, and her brother David. According to the stories that I have read and researched, HAILEY was here with Sean Atkins on the morning that she disappeared. She was supposedly playing back there in the back by those trees, and she was on her phone. And later on, whenever she came back, her father lived across the street over here in these apartments. And her father could see her from his doorstep. At that point, nobody heard from HAILEY, and her brother came in to the home and found Sean Atkins was in the home. He had the beat on the door. Nobody answered, so David crawled into a window and he confronted Sean in the hallway with a deer in the headlights look. As you can see, there's nothing much left here, just a lot of debris and a lot of what might have been, what could have been. The house was torn down, I believe, in 2013. And this is just the remnants of a life gone terribly bad. You know, people used to come and search for Haley, put ribbons up. They had all kinds of signs. And there was even a group which called themselves Haley's Angels. So where I'm standing right here, this is where the house used to stand. So right here would have been approximately where Haley's room would have been, right here, facing the front of the house. And as you can tell, right over there, that's where her father, Clint, used to be able to watch and see his daughter coming and going. That day, supposedly she was going to visit him, and she never made it. Like I said, this town is about 2,000 people. And this area is mostly comprised of farmers and other things that help the economy. This was once the garage area, the driveway. So supposedly, as reports have stated, Haley was back here in this area on a cell phone. She supposedly walked to her friend's house, which was not far from here. Gonna go ahead and kind of walk with while I'm talking. I'm not quite certain where the friend's house is, but gonna kind of take you on a visual of where she would have walked as she walked that direction. As you can see, this is the back of her house. There's the water tower. And when they did the searches, her dad was quoted as saying he walked around looking in dumpsters, checking old abandoned buildings, and just trying to find his daughter. It's not a bad neighborhood, but as you can see, there's not any cameras either. No cameras, at least not in 2010, maybe. And you want to hear something creepy, I'm going to show you here in a minute. So, like I said, I'm not certain which direction Haley would have walked, but supposedly she walked to a friend's house. But when the friend was contacted, she denied that Haley ever was supposed to spend the night with her. She denied that they had ever planned it. I will discuss more about the case after I show you this live footage, because I don't have it memorized and it's been a while since I've done the case. And I have updated information that I can share with you. We're just a block over from where Haley lived. We're just a block over from where Haley lived, and many people were involved in the search. Her classmates, DPS, search teams from Texas, Colorado City, police department. A lot of people were involved looking for Haley. But I was going to tell you that I was going to show you something that was going to trip you out. Back in 1998 or 96, 97, I lived at this home right here. A block away. Obviously, Haley Dunn wasn't born yet, but this is where I lived. My family and I. Obviously, it's changed a lot. And you know where I said all those times that I used to do the peeping Tom stuff? That's the house. Can't believe I just admitted that, but I've talked about it many times. So there's the house. And I'll take you around this house. I used to walk across from my house over there, come to this window where that AC is. There used to be a swamp cooler, and peep right there in that window. And then I got brazen, and I shared this story with you guys one time. I was standing on some stuff in the back, right there by that door, the bathroom. Now I almost got caught because I fell down. I ran down this alley. Ducking and diving. I was 13 years old at the time. There's the house. It changed a lot, but not a lot. Running down this alley at nighttime, dark, scared, my adrenaline going everywhere. Just looking out for the police, because I knew for certain the police had been called. Wow. I haven't been down this alley since I was 13 years old. And if my memory recalls, it was probably the same type of dogs barking. I hightailed it toward my home, which was a block over. Can't believe I'm sharing all this on the film. But just showing you that I don't lie on what I talk about. And I think I hid behind one of these trees when the police came. Might have been that pine tree over there. I crawled under it, waited for the police to leave. And then went to my home. I was never confronted. Nobody ever asked. Crazy life of a 13-year-old. But as you can tell, not that far away. Okay, as you can see down there, where that truck is, that's where Haley's house would have been, right across the street. It's also been rumored that Haley walked down this street, and that she was last seen up here by this hotel. I mean, in 2010, there was a lot of theories about what happened to her. A lot of conspiracy theories. A lot of things that people were making up on what happened to Hailey Dunn. As you can tell, not a lot of these homes either may have not had high-end security, and there's definitely not any cameras in these poles. But we've since found out that the time frame in which they saw Hailey was not the day of her disappearance. She never went by this hotel. I can possibly tell you, we've been in town probably 15 minutes. I've seen the same two cars at least twice. People are wondering who we are. So 14 years ago, there was people wondering, asking questions, suspecting if this was the last location of Hailey Dunn. As you can see up ahead, there's a stop sign, and that is Interstate 20, heading east and west through Texas. There are two hotels, actually. I'm not sure if this one was built yet, but there's this one, and then there's that one over there. Nonetheless, speculation stated that she was last seen at one of those two. Okay, we're heading on to Snyder, Texas, the route that Sean Atkins took the morning that he drove to Snyder to supposedly quit his job and drove home. At this point, Billie Jean Dunn, the mother of Haley Dunn, reported that she had gone to work in Snyder at a nursing home where she worked, and Sean worked in Snyder, and he supposedly took this route to work. What's interesting about this route is the Texas Rangers documented that they got his pings on this route. He did drive to Snyder, walked into his job, bought a Dr. Pepper, and then walked out. There was theory that he supposedly talked to his boss about quitting, and that proved to be false. So at this point, Haley was supposedly in her bed. This was the morning of the 27th. She was supposedly in her bed, and nobody was at home with her. Her brother David had spent the night at another person's house. So Sean drove to Snyder, drank the Dr. Pepper, clocked out, and drove back to Colorado City, where his phone pinged later on that morning. And then supposedly he drove to Big Spring, Texas at his mom and dad's house, where he was looking up jobs since he had just quit his. All during this point, the Texas Rangers were able to document piece by piece of where his phone was pinging. There's been a lot of theories that when Sean went back home, that's when he supposedly killed Haley. Before then, there were theories that she was driven to Snyder and handed off to a drug dealer to work off the debt that Billie Jean Dunn and Sean Atkins had. The night before, they had been in Snyder, took out $140 from an ATM machine, and bought some methamphetamines. So all this coincides as a bunch of individuals that were living a drug lifestyle. I will discuss this further in the video that I'm going to show you after this play-by-play live that I'm doing at the moment. So this is the route that was supposedly taken on the morning where Haley was still at home. And supposedly when Sean came back home, he observed Haley not in her room, but she had already awoken and was out in the backyard on the phone. And she had told him that she was going to go see a friend and possibly spend the night. And that's when, after all that driving around, he came from Big Spring back to Colorado City. And that's when David came home, was beating on the door. He couldn't get Sean to open the door because it was locked. He crawled through a window, and Sean saw Sean meet him in the hallway with a deer in the headlight look, quoting David. Billie Jean Dunn came home that night, and Sean told her about the story of Haley going to her young friend's house to spend the night. There was no confirmation made by the mother reaching out to Haley, confirming the story, supposedly. The next morning, she went to work, and it wasn't until that evening that she got scared because she asked where her daughter was, and nobody knew. She went by the little girl's house, she told her that Haley had never been there. And that's when she reported her daughter missing. All right, we're continuing the road to Snyder, J.B. Thomas Lake. I don't know if I said O.C. Fisher earlier, but I'm drinking some of this 7 Brew coffee, and it gets you going. Also, I wanted to mention that the night before her disappearance, Haley was up late playing video games, as evidenced by her brother stating the fact. At that point, the brother left and never saw Haley again. So there's a lot of hit and misses there where people either didn't see her or saw her for the last time and never saw her again. Sean Atkins was the one who saw her the most after that night. So if we're using Occam's razor, that would identify the clearest and closest potential perpetrator, which would be the ex-boyfriend. I say ex because they're no longer together. The mother has since moved to Austin, Texas, and Sean Atkins still remains in the Howard County area. Due to his recent arrest, he was arrested for this murder, spent 1.5 years in jail, and right before the trial, they dismissed the case based on either lack of evidence or some kind of technicality. So, as I've always stated in these other cases, the judge or the prosecutor are able to dismiss the case at any time. So all these individuals that state that there's no way that this is going to trial in other cases, and some semblance of that, if there was truly any evidence that would dismiss charges on the individual, or if they were potentially innocent, the prosecutor or the judge could dismiss the case at any time. And that's what happened in this case. He has since not been charged again, but I believe that since they let him go, if there's any further evidence, they could rearrest him and retry him. Since there was not a trial, it would not be double jeopardy. So we're just heading toward the lake right now. We're on March 16th, 2016. Haley's remains. 2013, I'm sorry. Haley's remains were found by JB Thomas Lake. Sorry for that. Like I said, I'm having a coffee moment, bro. I can't help it. And I have people tailgating me right now, so I'm doing the best I can. I have my awesome cameraman with me, and he is supplying his camera footage right now as I speak. I hope I'm speaking loud enough that you guys can hear me. My camera that I was going to use, for some reason, failed to work. So it is what it is. I had to use my phone. But like I'm saying, I'm heading toward J.B. Thomas Lake, and we will be there shortly, and I will show you the lake area. I can't really show you where the remains were found due to it being an isolated area. An individual was hunting for arrowheads when he stumbled upon what resembled human remains. And that's when Texas Ranger DPS, Scurry County police officials were called, and these remains were later identified as HAILEY Dunn, 13, Colorado City, Texas. Okay, we're on the road heading to J.B. Thomas, and as you can tell, it's very desolate. Can you imagine it being 5:30 in the morning if that's when he indeed brought Haley's body out here, or he later brought her out here. It's quite secluded. There's not a lot of people out here. As you can tell, it's very isolated. And there's not a lot of cars. There's just a lot of oil field land, ranchers, and just people that are retired that live out here in the country, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Okay, we've arrived at Lake J.B. Thomas. And as you can tell, this is the lake. And as I was telling you, this individual was out here looking for arrowheads, and he stumbled across the remains of HAILEY DUNN. And at the beginning of the video, I mentioned HAILEY's name as being Jean, HAILEY Jean Dunn. That is her mother's middle name, Billie Jean Dunn. So I mispronounced Haley's middle name. And here we are at Lake J.B. Thomas. And as you can tell, it's quite enchanting. I'll get out and we can give you some other views. Park right here. I really don't want my truck to go in the water. As you can tell, the terrain here in Texas is quite hilly. There's a lot of mesquite. And you know, the ground is like pretty hard, so if you're looking for arrowheads, please, dear God, let me not stumble upon anything. That'd be terrible. Can't get over the view. But I'm going to stand right here and just show you kind of the landscape. Rest in peace, HAILEY Dunn. 14 years later, this is where her remains were found. March 16th, 2013. So, as you can tell, it doesn't take much. I'm not saying he dumped them here, but as you can see, there's multiple areas around here where somebody could just take a back road. We're at the south side of the lake, so there's a lot of different roads around here. And somebody could just take a road and dispose of a body and be gone within seconds. You know, it's sad that there's callousness like this in the world. I can't believe it's been 14 years already. And this is giving you the boots on the ground type experience that I haven't done to this length on a case. Hopefully in time, I'll be able to do more. Well, I asked you one time before I show the rest of the live on the educational part, because I don't have this case memorized. And I've done this case before, and you're about to see and hear the investigative part of this case and the actors implicated in her murder. I ask you really quickly, can you dig it? Can you dig it? If you can't, get yourself a bigger shovel. Let's dive into this. My name is 12 Gauge. Let's go. All right. Excuse me. Man, sitting there and getting all throat itchy and everything. I don't know what's going on. So what do y'all think about that? Was that pretty telling? Did you get a lot from that? Um, many times whenever you are actually taken to the crime scene, a lot of times you don't really understand it until you're there. And then at that point, it's so interesting because you understand that there's been something traumatic happen at that place. I mean, just sitting there with my nephew and I, we're kind of tripping a little bit, that we were actually at the place where the house used to stand and where Haley was possibly murdered at. I'm going to show you the other portion of it where you get an understanding of the case if you didn't get the gist of it by by my interpretation. And this is from True Crime News. So hang on a second and we'll get to it. Hope you are enjoying this so far. Let's go. Mention that Haley went reported missing on the 28th, and on the 31st, New Year's Eve, her mother, Sean Atkins, and some friends were having a New Year's Eve party. She denied it being a party, but they had alcohol, drugs, food, anything that a party entails. But she denied this. So her daughter had just been reported missing. I mean, they searched. They searched landfills. They searched. They had cadaver dogs. They had all kinds of things looking for this little girl. The mom and the ex boyfriend took a polygraph test, which they failed, and they still did not arrest them due to inconclusive evidence. Um, they found child pornography on a computer that the ex boyfriend was viewing when he went to Big Spring. Billie Jean and the ex boyfriend were found to have a lot of I don't know, true crime books and movies, and they were into true crime, but it was to the level of some kind of gore, supposedly. This is what I've read. It's hard to find the documents now, but this is what I've read in the past. And it's interesting to me that, there's nothing wrong with having that kind of fascination or even to be fascinated with gore or music of that type or anything like that. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that, you let evil in. At what point does evil consume the household? That's all. Think about that statement right there. He was ever there to be her father figure. He was just there to be her friend. What do y'all think about that, chat? Come on, pipe in and let me know what y'all are thinking, feeling. Y'all watched this for a little bit now. What do y'all think about all that? Do you think it's normal that these statements have been said about someone living with a 13-year-old daughter? And I think the boy was like 12. So, as I said last, when I was talking about the case this morning, um, I was talking about how it's it's kind of suggested that you don't move in your boyfriend with a teenage daughter or a young daughter. Um, so I don't know if it just booted me or what, but if it did, then I'm just going to turn it off. Good stuff. Good stuff. I guess I'll just sit here and wait until you guys can see me. Let me know when that happens. Until then, I'll sit here and play some music. Okay, y'all can see and hear me? Good deal. Of course, YouTube wants to do what they got to do. Like I said, how many of you would feel comfortable leaving your teenage daughter with your boyfriend who you have domestic violence issues with, who was constantly calling the police on you as well, was threatening to kill you, even if it wasn't real? How many of you would feel comfortable allowing this individual to be anywhere near your adolescent daughter? I don't think so either. I mean, I'm not judging, but I don't think many people would allow that to happen or allow that to be the norm because you just never know what happens in a house that drugs are being done. There's all kinds of dysfunction, obviously. What's going to possibly happen if you're under the influence and then something happens with you and the underage daughter? Yes, he was younger than the mom. Not that he was closer to the 13-year-old's age, but he was a little younger than the mother. So I guess I'm going to get off here because I got to trim up the copyright and everything else. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. The walkthrough was more what I wanted to show you guys than anything. So, can you dig it? Can you dig it? If you can't dig it, get yourself a bigger shovel. Maestro, cue that music.